recording.
Yep, that should be it starting now.
See that popped up. So welcome everyone. That's the recording started. Do we have any apologies? I don't think we will.
No, we have a full house
No,
today.
we've got a full house today. That's great. Thank you very much, everyone. Any declarations of interest that we need to be aware of this morning? No, we don't see any hands, a few shakes of the head, so that's helpful. So that then just takes us straight into the minutes of our previous meeting. So that was back on the 18th of September. So the minutes are there for review and approval this morning. I'll just pause. I don't turn the pages and things because I can never keep up when other people turn the pages. I'm always in the wrong page. So I'll just give a wee second for anyone to raise anything if you've got any either comments or questions on them. And if we don't see any hands, we'll move to approve. Don't see any hands on that, so we're happy to approve the prior minutes of the meeting of the 18th of September. Yep, see a nod there. Thanks, Jacqueline. Okay, so move on swiftly to item 2 on the agenda. It's internal audit plan and progress for the 23-24 plan, if I get the years right. So, Andrea, I'll just hand over to you on that one.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, it is the 23-24 progress. All of 22-23 has been completed and submitted to the board. So this is really just a very short progress update. The performance management review is ongoing at the moment. The local code will be Q4 as it always is. And there's other papers on the agenda in relation to the self-assessment that was undertaken as well. I would just like to check that all members did get a copy of the guidance that I sent out. Have I missed anybody? No, that's great then, because I would give that a read. It really is actually quite an easy, it's quite long, but it's quite an easy read in terms of things that SITFA generally produce. So I would encourage you to have a wee read at that. Nothing really else to say on that particular paper.
So that's just an update, just helpful for us as a committee to understand what's happening. Don't see any questions in that. Certainly, it's just helpful for us to keep track so that we know what's coming and when, and remind us, because we don't make that frequently. So it's a good wee check. So we're just noting that progress paper this morning. Thank you. And then still with you, Andrea, that takes us to the next item, which you've sort of referred to a bit, the SITFA Audit Committee piece. So it's quite a lot more in it. So I'll hand over to you to introduce, and then we can pick up the various components. Okay, so yes, we said we would do this piece of work. It's come together actually fairly quickly. Appendix, just take to the appendix. Appendix 1 and Appendix 2 is effectively the assessment. Not everyone could make the development day, so I thought it was a good idea to actually just attach the full assessments to this. Appendix 3 is, my phone's decided to ring. I should have left it in another room. I don't know who that is. Appendix 3 is the, I haven't to scroll through to get to Appendix 3. That's the action plan. So I think it's maybe worthwhile taking members through the action plan. So point 1 there has been covered off in the new terms of reference on Appendix 4. It's been decided that a verbal update will be given to the IJB after each meeting, and the minutes of the meeting will also go to the IJB, which is always happening before anyway. Point 2 there, one area that was missing in relation to compliance with the guidance was there was no annual report. So it has been agreed that we would do an annual report, which will coincide with the annual governance statement, which also coincides with my annual report as well. So I think that's good timing for that one.
Point 3 was to review the terms of reference. There were a couple of things that the board were considering that weren't reflected in the terms of reference, and obviously the report, the annual report, wasn't reflected in that as well. So there's been a couple of tweaks to the terms of reference, which I'll go through because they're in the next appendix. The point 4 there, undertake a formal training needs analysis. That's not happened yet, but I will be getting round to developing that quite soon, and I'll get that out to members. And that's where you'll find your member guide that I've sent out to you to be really useful as well. I don't know if anybody's got any questions specifically on the action plan at this stage. I'm happy to take them at this stage if you do.
Got Fiona looking to come in.
Andrea, it's not questions or anything, it's really just to comment how helpful I found. I managed to attend the session, so it was quite helpful to go through that whole process. So it was really just to say thanks for that.
Thank you. Yeah, much appreciated. So just to take you on.
Sorry, Andrea, just on that, I think it would be worth us just as part of the minutes that we capture both that comment of thanks from the committee, and just so that it's clear in whichever trails of people that then check if we're doing the right thing, that it's clear in that was a key part of leading to these papers. So it has been helpful, and I know not everyone could make it, but we've got the detail here as well, so all the members have had a chance to look at the detail of it. So I agree, Fiona, thank you.
Thank you very much. So the final appendix there is Appendix 4, which is the proposed terms of reference for approval here to go to the IJB for approval as well. So if I just take you through a couple of the changes, they are relatively minor, and as I say, they've come out of the self-assessment. So point 2.2, the word independent there has been added to the first line. And there's been a slight change to the last, effectively the last line on that, where it says aligned areas of the committee's remit in section 8. That replaces wording that said, and scrutiny progress of key pieces of work across the HSCP. So it kind of says the same thing, but it ties it in to the committee's actual remit. Not much else happens until 8.3. We have put in a new bullet point. The last bullet point there, which is oversight in relation to elements of reporting on front-facing aspects of the business. So these are the areas of sort of performance management that do come to the IJB. They weren't reflected in the terms of reference, so it's just to be clear on what is reviewed at the IJB itself and what comes to the audit committee instead. So that wasn't clear on the previous terms. And it's probably just evolved from when the previous terms were agreed. And a couple of changes at 9.1, just to reflect that it will be a verbal update to the IJB after the meeting. And 9.2 is effectively formalising that there will be an annual report. So happy to take any questions on that. And I would give my thanks to James, who actually pulled it together as well. It wasn't me that did that, but
Oh, thanks, Andrea. Well, that's helpful, taking us through line by line where the changes are. I don't see any hands going up. I think one thing that probably just worth me commenting on, because I know Jacqueline, you fed in your thoughts as well, because we had talked about should there be a brief report that goes after each meeting. I think in reflection, I certainly felt that a verbal update was fine because of the quick turnaround time, and actually we have that sweep up of the annual document anyway, so it's not like anything's missed, and it certainly there's always an opportunity to escalate or flag anything to the IJB, so we're not preventing that in any way, but actually just making it a bit more admin streamlined by making it verbal. So that was just my only thought, just so that everyone understood the logic behind that, rather than, because we had talked about maybe a report going, but it would be a report with not very much in it probably. So everyone seems quite content with those changes. I guess this is just the formalisation of some of the discussions that we've had, so none of this should be a surprise to anyone. So I guess formally what we're doing, we're noting the self-assessment, so that's it, Appendix 1 and Appendix 2. We're agreeing or approving the action plan, so we're all content with what's in the action plan, and that goes to the IJB so that they see that there's an action plan there. Likewise with the terms of reference, I guess we're approving, but it's actually the IJB that has to approve the change in the terms and reference, so we're, I guess, recommending that approval to the IJB this morning.
Yep.
Does that mean covered everything on that, Andrea?
Yeah. So sorry. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Anything else you want to raise with us as part of that item, Andrea?
No, I'm
Super.
content with that.
Thank you. But we're still with you for item 4.
Okay. Item 4 is members are well used to this report coming now to the audit committee. It is just a summary of the partner organisations' work. Obviously, I am the Chief Auditor of the Council, so I can probably go in a little more detail to the Council ones. Anything in relation to the Health Board, I would need to refer back to the Health Board, but it is just for information. I'll probably just pick up briefly on the limited assurance because it always jumps out at people in relation to disaster recovery within the Council. It is more of an issue around what we don't know is being purchased rather than that we have a problem with the big systems and things that we do know about. It's a bit more about having proper oversight of procurement from the IT point of view, and then, you know, being able to say that these are all on are all clearly understood disaster recovery arrangements, and those are formalised through contracts. So it wasn't really so much that what was in place at the moment was wrong, it was more that we didn't know what we didn't know for some things, so there needed to be processes in place to make sure that we did know what was being purchased. I'm happy to take any questions. The home care one really had nothing in it apart from a few housekeeping issues, so happy, as I say, to take any questions. It's just actually for noting though, because it is the partner organisations.
Thanks, Andrea. Not sure if you've got any questions on that. A lot of this is just helpful information. I know certainly I think Anne's still on the call, but there's certainly been quite a lot of discussion at the Health Board around mandatory training and pushing for the importance of that. So I guess you're just getting a snippet of some of that through the audit report as well. Okay, so content to note that I don't see any hands this morning. Thanks, Andrea. Thanks for all your papers. There's been quite a lot of activity in your area, but it probably puts us in a good footing as an IJB standing committee. So thank you for all your work on that. Okay.
Thank you.
That then takes us on to item 5. And Sarah, do you want to introduce this one?
Yes, this is just really in terms of good governance. We've brought back the final annual audit report from the external auditors, and I see Grace is here as well. So really the final report reflects the change in the grading of the RAG rating of best value, which has now been removed, and that better reflects the current position. So really the report is just here for completeness, and it basically notes the final audit report with that change made within it. I'm happy to take any questions, and I'm quite sure Grace would be happy to as well. Obviously putting the words into her mouth, but this is the final audit report from themselves.
Thanks, Sarah, and thanks for joining this morning. Grace, I've got Jacqueline first.
Yeah, not a question for Grace, but it was just to say thanks to Sarah and yourself, Mags, for pressing the point in this, and thanks to Grace for listening. It was good to see that you had that debate and then came to that conclusion. So that was all. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I think that's fair, Jacqueline. I think it's one of these ones. It's not like we don't expect everything to be blanket green, but I think it's just how the words matter, don't they? On these reports, the words are quite important. I'm
I
sure
guess it
you
was-
appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely we did. And yeah, when we reflected on it, then I did feel like we were marking you down in two areas for the same thing that's kind of outside your control. So no, we went back to Audit Scotland just to say that's what we were going to do, and they were comfortable with it as well. So yeah, ended up in the right place.
Thank you. Thank you. Grace, is there anything else you want to say as part of, obviously, as your
Nope,
report?
absolutely nothing else changed. Yeah, so it was just that rating.
Yeah, because this is really a kind of wash up of all your formal reporting, because nothing else has changed. You get a bit of a lull from external audit at the moment. Well, a little lull till the planning starts. Yeah.
Yes, that's true. I'll be back, Sarah. I'll be back soon. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so we're content. We're just noting that it's not for us to approve. It's EY's report, and it's for information this morning. Thank you. That then takes us to item 6. I'll hand over to David for risk this morning.
Yeah, thank you. So our paper for this meeting goes into a bit more detail on the recommendations from the internal audit as it's completed. And we touched on that at the last meeting. And within this paper, we touch on how HSEP will reflect those recommendations going forward. So I did note at the last meeting that the actions from our perspective really are more focused around good practice considerations rather than fundamental changes, but they do give us a number of refinements that we can make to how we reflect risk movement in our risk logs, also the advice that we provide to staff through the available guidance that we have, and also changes that we can make to the IJB's overarching risk management strategy and policy. So the actions that we plan to take over the coming months are detailed further in section 5 of the paper, and we'll bring an update on those and a refreshed risk strategy and policy back to the committee for review and approval at its next meeting in March 2024. In terms of updates to the IJB's risk register itself, these have really been limited since the September committee meeting. However, the overall risk context really does remain very challenging for us. So risks 1 and 2 in issue 2 have each been updated to reflect the current financial situation and also progress that's been made by the Sustainable Futures Programme. And that will also be subject of a further update to the IJB next week as well. And in a related change to that, we've also increased the score of risk 12, which is around the failure to achieve targets and performance indicators. I suppose whilst the HSEP continues to be high performing on our key indicators, we did feel it was prudent to increase this risk just to reflect the potential impact of that challenging financial context that we're operating within and how that may have a knock-on impact onto operational performance. That's really the key points that I wanted to cover today, but very happy to take any questions.
Thank you, David. I think that's a really helpful, succinct summary of what's been happening. I think while I might not have questions, I always give others a chance if they're forming thoughts. It felt appropriate, the 2 areas that you've drawn out as changing, given the discussions we're having at IJB level, whether it's a risk. I think the reality is biting in terms of what the impact might be, particularly around the financial risks for us. So I think it feels appropriate that those have been drawn out and increased. So I think this is really helpful. It's quite sobering as always, this report, but it feels in line with the wider IJB discussions that we're having. I'll bring Jacqueline in now.
Thanks, Max. Yeah, just to reflect exactly what you said, just to be supportive of the increase in risk 12. I think it's not a reflection on officers' capabilities or abilities. It's just purely the position that we find ourselves in nationally, and every IJB's in the same boat. So I just wanted to, obviously it's clear it's not about ability, but I think it's right that we do increase that. So just to be supportive of that. Thanks.
Yeah, because we are being asked to approve these changes this morning, and been content to note the updates in risk. And there has been a lot of work done in this. I can see that coming through. We've got a lot, I mean, compared to when I first joined the IJB, the information we're getting is really detailed and clearly updated regularly. So that in itself is helpful. So as a committee, I think we're content to note the update, and I see some nods as well. content to approve the changes that have been made to the risks that are highlighted. What's in that? Section 6, those are updates are flagged. Okay, thank you. I see various nods. Thank you. Okay, that then takes us on to item 7. And Francis, you've got an overview report of the IJB directions for us.
Yes, thanks, Chair. So this report's for oversight, and it provides a summary of the directions to the Council and NHS GGC over the last year. So the summary can be found in Appendix 1 of the report. As you'll be aware, directions are a method through which the IJB commission our partner organisations to deliver on the priorities within our strategic plan. All the directions relate specifically to financial allocations and resources. So I'm happy to take any questions, but I trust that members will be familiar with the directions in relation to matters we've already discussed as items at the IJB. But
thanks, Francis. And I suppose it just, I guess for clarity, these are, oh, Fiona's trying to put her hand up. I'll let Fiona come in first because I was just going to
sorry, it's just it kind of froze there just as I was about to do that. Sorry, it was just a wee bit of confusion on my part, Francis. Just when I'm reading through the table, it refers to Appendix 1 and then Appendix 4, and I couldn't find an Appendix 4 in terms of the kind of where you would get the full text for what you were highlighting there. So one of them, I think, where it says R&R funding, and then it says as outlined in Appendix 4. So is it Appendix
that must
4?
be it. That must be an error from previously, because I've not. It shouldn't be. So I can provide details if you're looking for further information, but that must have been from a previous report, because there wasn't appendix.
No, I couldn't see one because it was referring to Appendix 1, and I'm thinking, right, that must be what I'm reading.
No, it's only,
but then it says
Appendix
1.
There's only Appendix 1, which provides the summary. We've not provided any additional information around these. However, more than happy to provide that if any members would like it on any of the matters, then happy to do that.
So
the Appendix 4 is in it's the original paper that went with the report, so I can send you that.
Thank you. Thanks. Yep. Thanks.
Is that okay, Fiona?
Yeah, that's fine. Thanks.
I think it probably leads to the point I was going to make, so it's probably a helpful question, is that all of these directions will have gone to an IJB for approval. So it's, I guess that there shouldn't be anything new creeping into this table. It will all have been through formal committee and approval, not committee, sorry, board for approval. And this just summarises. There's nothing additional here, Francis, if I'm right.
No. Yeah, what the wording, we've taken the wording from the direction, and the direction would provide the report. So it will be saying to the partner organisations, as per Appendix 4 of this report, you have to deliver on it. So that's where the confusion lies, because we've just taken the exact wording of the direction and put it in the table.
And just a point of clarification for me, there's no issues in here that you're flagging that there's any particular problem. This is just for information for us.
Yes.
Thanks, Francis. Okay, so we'll note the overview of the directions this morning. Don't see any other questions. Thank you. Thank you. Then that takes us to item 8 in terms of the inspection report. So is it Phil this morning? Yes. Hi, Phil.
Thanks, Chair. For the members who have not met yet, my name is Phil McDonald. I am a service manager in the partnership, and I have the internal care homes as part of my portfolio. So on the 12th of September 2023, the Care Inspectorate began an unannounced inspection of the service at Hunter Hill Care Home. They returned on the 14th of September to complete the inspection and provide feedback. There were no areas of improvement recorded in the report, which is very positive, and the Care Inspectorate graded Hunter Hill care home as grade 4 overall, which is good on the care inspectorate scale. The care inspectorate look at quality indicators, and they specifically focused on how well do we support people's well-being, and the breakdown of that was grade 4 for people experiencing compassion, dignity and respect. They graded as 5, which is very good in terms of people getting the most out of life, and they graded as 4, which is good for people's health and well-being benefiting from their care and support. They also considered how good is our leadership as one of their themes, and they graded as 4, which is good for quality assurance and noting that improvement is led well. The key messages that came from the inspection were that staff were motivated and dedicated to their roles. There was a newly appointed manager in post who had begun to make some improvements in the service. The provider was actively engaged in further improving the environment and the menus, and people were cared for by staff who knew them well, and there was a good degree of consistency. The final key message was that the service benefited from skilled activity staff who offered a very good range of high quality, meaningful activities. So I understand that the report's been shared with everyone already, but some of the highlights from the report noted that people were clean and well presented, and we heard how staff planned to support people out and about as needed and to get personal shopping and new clothes, etc. Staff told inspectors that at times, due to short notice absence, things were more pressured and they would be under some more stress. However, they felt confident that staffing levels were good and there was a commitment to maintaining these levels. The report noted that people were able to move around freely in the home, accessing the garden and group activities that happened throughout the building, both indoors and outdoors, as well as people being supported when their relatives come to visit. The report noted that Hunter Hill had a really interesting and exciting range of events and activities for people to get involved with, and staff leading on these were motivated and enthusiastic. The report also noted that there were a range of quality assurance tools at a local level that were centred around how the seniors and management team were measuring and identifying improvements. These included robust audits that captured meaningful details about aspects of care planning, dining experiences, medication practices, addressing when things went wrong, such as medication errors, and taking appropriate action on these. It was noted that these all contributed to an effective improvement culture across the service. So that is the main points from the report. If anyone's got any questions, I'm happy to take.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks for that overview. I've got a couple I thought I would have some hands on this. So I've got 3 hands. So I've got Fiona, Jacqueline, then Anne. So Fiona, come to you first.
Thanks very much. First of all, to say I think it's a really good report and well done to the staff in terms of the difficulties that are across nationally, certainly around about social care and support. Just because you mentioned in times that they're short of staff, and that could be just due to recruitment and absence, I was pleased to note that actually quality assurance has continued, because sometimes that's the first thing to go, because the people who do the quality assurance are the people who then cover the shifts where they're free. So they've managed to uphold, I think, standards and monitor improvement, and I think that's a big achievement. So from my perspective, really good, and nice to see the work that's going on in terms of that. I think it's really lovely to see that people get the most out of life is the highest score in terms of that, and what else can you ask? So thanks very much for that. Thanks. Pass on to the staff my thanks, certainly.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fiona. Jacqueline, you're next.
Yeah, similar points to Fiona. I thought the scores were excellent, and we know at the moment the care inspectorate aren't exactly being liberal with these high scores, so that's brilliant to see. And just as Fiona said as well, please pass our thanks on to the staff, because the one of the key messages was that the staff were motivated and dedicated to their roles, and that's brilliant, because as Fiona said, it's social care's getting a bit of a beating at the moment, nationally. So to see people who are happy in their jobs and committed to their jobs, it's just is fantastic. So if you can let them know, Phil, that we were delighted to see this report. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. You've not had a question yet. This is good. Anne, you're next.
Thank you, and thank you, Phil, for the report. It is a very good report. Unusual to have such a good report. My question is, really, I know the staffing issues that we have in care homes throughout the area, and you say that the staff are still motivated and they come on. How short I'll get to the point. Sorry about this. How often do we change your shift rota to accommodate the shortness of staff in? And is there a possibility to come and visit the care home to thank the staff for all the hard work that they're doing? Because myself, I go around different hospital sites, different wards, to thank the staff personally for all their hard work. So is that possible as well? So one is, how do we change it, and how quickly do you change your rota to give staff time? And is it possible to pay the place a visit?
Okay, so on the first question, in terms of how often do we change and how much time do we give, a lot of this is unprecedented, and you know, it's people that we work with. We're in a people business, and we have a very good staff group who are responsive and recognise that ultimately we want to provide care and support to people, maintain that high standard. So our internal staff are excellent at responding and recognise the need for them to step in and avoid, you know, the need to bring in agency staff, albeit that's a necessary aspect of maintaining the staffing levels at times. Your second point, yeah, absolutely, you're welcome to visit the care home manager. Like I said, we've got a newly appointed manager in Hunter Hill, who's been very effective in engaging the staff group, relatives and residents. So his name is Chris Smith, and I'd be happy to get him to link in with you and find a time that suits for you to come and see residents and staff.
Thanks very much, Phil.
Thanks, Anne. That's two very good points there, and I think all the committee clearly want to express their thanks, even though they haven't put their hand up. We're probably just all in agreement with the comments. And I know it was mentioned that the ratings have been pretty harsh recently, so that makes these particularly good review ratings. So thank you again. Thank you for coming along and discussing it with us this morning, Phil. So we're just noting this report formally at this committee, but it's a really positive one, and well, it's my favourite paper of the morning. Don't know if the chair's supposed to say that, but it is. So thank you very much. So that concludes the formal items in the agenda. Just the final item, just to note, our next meeting is in March, 15th of March 24, into the new year, well into the new year. We'll still be in Teams for that. No doubt we'll see you lots before that through the IJB itself. So thank you to all the contributors this morning. As I mentioned right at the beginning, the members of the committee and Andrea as Head of Internal Audit will stay on just very briefly. But thank you to everyone else this morning, and we'll see you all soon. Thank you.
Thank you.